Hello again and welcome. A few days ago we had to cut our elderberry tree down, which had been in the garden for around 40 odd years and was about 25-30 feet high in total, but it was becoming very rotten, very brittle, so we decided to get rid in preparation of any high winds that might occur in the near future. So I didn't think there'd be anything to turn because it was very rotten. However, there were a few limbs that looked possible. So I've got one such limb on here now. It's about 13.5 inches long by 5 inches in diameter approximately. The one common feature I noticed with everything as I was chainsawing up the limbs and the branches was the pith was very soft, very similar to a monkey puzzle. So I'm going to make a vase or a hollow form or a vessel of some sort, so the pith isn't really a problem because the majority is going to be turned away anyway and hollowed out, and if I have to do a fill or maybe a strengthening procedure at the end on the pith at the bottom of whatever I turn, I'm not bothered with that at all. Okay, so without further ado, let's get turning this elderberry vase stroke form. So I'm going to be using the Hope Cryo 1/2 inch ball gouge, and rather than a spindle roughing gouge, because of the undulations etc, I find that this operation easier, and I can turn him up to about 850 RPM and just nibble away. So I've formed a dovetail tenon. I've got it in my big 4-inch dovetail jaws, which will give me really good holding power. And what I'll do now is do the basic shaping on the outside. I want to try and leave some of this bark on if I can. Get the basic shape, hollow out the inside, leave the walls fairly thick, and then put it away to dry, and hopefully we can finish turn it in the not too distant future. Okay, so I've got the depth hole I want now. It's 54mm wide at the moment. When I do a hollow boring out like this, I like to do it in stages, so it's less pressure on each of the larger Forstner bits. So I start off with an auger bit to get the initial hole, which is 3/4 of an inch, and then I work up to 54mm with one in between, maybe a 40-45 in between, just so it's not hogging all the wood out in one operation. So I've got to the depth I want, which is just about here now. I'm going to take a little bit off here and a bit out of the bottom, and then I shall come back when I'm going to wrap it and put it away and let it dry. So as near as I can, I've got the walls the same thickness all the way through, which is about, I don't know, just over ½ an inch, 3/4 of an inch, something like that. It's not critical, but the evenness is the most important thing. So what I'm going to do now is just mark the position relative to jaw number 1, just here on the piece, and then I will treat this just as a bowl. I will fill the middle with shavings, and I shall wrap shavings around the piece and then put it in a brown paper bag or brown paper, whatever, and let it dry. And the tenon, the reason I use the large chuck on the tenon, if there is a lot of warping, then I can use a smaller set of jaws to finish turn it. I'm hoping this bark stays on, etc. It should be quite nice and characterful. So we'll have a look at it in 2 or 3 months' time and finish turn it then. Well, that completes part 1 of turning an elderberry vase. When I do any wet turning, whether it be a bowl or a vase or a vessel, I always try and keep the walls as even in thickness as I can, to give it a good chance of drying without cracking. And what I've done, like I would with a bowl, if I was wet turning it and putting it away to dry, fill the inside of the piece with the shavings from the turning, which will be damp obviously. Around the outside, I tend to wrap a bit of newspaper around it as well, and then put it in a box. Don't tape the box down to allow a little bit of airflow in there, just put the leaves down. And one bit of advice is to check it every couple of weeks. Just move the shavings around, and sometimes even change the shavings out if they become too saturated. Okay, well, thank you very much indeed for watching. Looking forward to finish turning that in a few months' time. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you very soon. Cheers now.